I've said it once and I'll say it again until the servers for World of Warships Legends shut down and cease to exist. Destroyers are the most important class in this game. And if you want to be effective in a destroyer, I think you need one tool above all else, and that is effective main battery guns. Now, most people, I think, consider destroyers for their torpedo power, which is probably why the Shimakaze seems to be the most popular one at Legendary tier. It does have tremendous torpedo power. You only need a couple of those in order to deal catastrophic damage to a battleship or a cruiser. But if you want to do your job as a destroyer, and your job is primarily to spot for your team, play the objectives, and counter enemy destroyers, if you want to do that latter thing most effectively, you're going to need effective guns for it. Torpedoes are usually not the deciding factor in destroyer duels, unless one of the destroyers is a bit of a potato and manages to eat one. Instead, what you need are the main battery guns to shred the enemy destroyers, and the Kleber is perhaps one of the best gunboats at Legendary tier, especially with the new-ish French commander Chuck at the helm. Here's the build with the mod selection. Got Aiming Systems Mod 1, Propulsion, Concealment, Epic Main Battery Reload, and then on Chuck, we've got Rumble and Sims as the two inspirations. You'll note, though, that Chuck has a unique skill in the fourth row, which we've selected. It's called Strong Diplomacy. It buffs the destroyer gun traverse by 3.2% at the level I have Chuck, and then it also increases the duration of the main battery reload booster by 22.5. So, with that skill in place on the Kleber, we have got a turret traverse time of 15.4 seconds. If you used the reload module and didn't do anything to buff the turret traverse, Klebers would be somewhere north of 20 seconds, which is quite a long time. But with this, it's 15.4. And then the reload time is 5.8 seconds off the base reload time of 7. And of course, it gets better if we take damage. Plus, the Kleber HE hits for a maximum HE shell damage of 2,000, which is one of the highest in the game, and it's absolutely devastating on 8 guns versus enemy destroyers, particularly when that reload booster is active and you're shooting every 3-ish seconds instead of every 5. It's absolutely lethal. And this battle is going to be a good one in terms of doing your job as a destroyer, playing the objectives. We're not doing too much spotting at the moment, but what we are going to effectively do is counter the enemy destroyers. And this kind of thing might not appeal to some players because by the end of the battle, we're not even going to have 100,000 damage. I think we're going to have somewhere in the range of 60,000. And there are probably certain players that would look at that and say it's not a very good result. Well, our XP is going to be above 3,000 because the raw damage number in the right-hand corner of the screen is almost irrelevant in terms of credit earnings, XP, and even battle impact. Well, it's more relevant in terms of battle impact if you deal catastrophic damage to enemy ships and they eventually get sunk, so those sinkings convert into points for the blue team's favor. But in terms of XP, credit earnings, it's about the percentage of the enemy's HP you take, not the total amount of damage you do to them. So this Z-52 here, you can see he's approaching us around this rock, and we've got ourselves in a nice position where his team is entirely behind the island to the rear of our ship. So they can't really shoot at us when we engage him. This makes the engagement unfair. We've got teammates that can shoot at him. We don't really need them because, of course, the Kleber can just shred right through the Z-52's HP with no problem whatsoever, as long as all the shells hit. Some of them miss there, so not great damage as he goes bow in, but we've got support from our teammates. They take him out, we get the fist, 12,000 damage. Doesn't really matter that we didn't get the kill ribbon. We're still going to be rewarded for taking 12,000 of that guy's HP, which I don't know what percentage of the Z-52 that is, but I'm going to guess at least 50%, if not better. So that's going to be useful damage in terms of credit earnings and XP, and in terms of battle impact. The enemy team no longer has that Z-52. They've got only one destroyer left, which I believe is a Vampire tomb. I think he probably took out our destroyer teammate on the alpha side of the map. And you could say that at this point, maybe we should push out further into the Charlie flank so that we can get vision on the 4 enemy ships that are hanging out sort of south of the Charlie cap. We are not doing that, though, because we've got a battleship inside of the Charlie cap, along with the enemy Johann de Witt, so I don't think anybody's actually going to be flipping that cap in favor of the Reds. And those 2 battleships, while they're sitting right next to each other and not necessarily being as effective as they could be if they spread out and tried to make a crossfire, it's probably going to take a long time for the enemy team to sink them, because the enemy team is, of course, right next to each other, too. So we've just got a situation where ships are sitting right in front of each other, trading shots in a kind of slow and boring way, and just, it's going to take a while. It's a battle of attrition. Nothing's really going to happen. Instead, I think what we needed to do was come in here, take the Bravo cap. There's nobody to really stop us. The enemy team did have an Alaska, I believe, but he's all the way near the Charlie cap, and we're well out of his radar range. So Bravo is essentially free to us. That means we've got a points income. We wouldn't be getting points from the Charlie cap as long as it's contested by the Reds, and the Reds were, of course, getting free points every tick from both Bravo and Alpha, so we're going to put a stop to that by entering the Alpha cap. But we know the Vampire 2 is somewhere around here. We know we're located by him. The thing is, he ran out of friends completely. If we're able to find him, it doesn't look like he's got any teammates that can deal damage to us, except for maybe that battleship over there, 7.5 kilometers away, the Yamato. He might be able to deal some damage to us. But Vampire 2, inexplicably, turns hard to starboard instead of port. I think he probably could have gone around that island and escaped, but he didn't. And he's got some pretty good main battery firepower of his own, but it's really no match for the Kleber. The Kleber is, I think, the scariest destroyer at Legendary tier when it comes to the main battery firepower. And Vampire 2 might be able to run Hector Waller and have that zombie gimmick, but it's kind of irrelevant when you're not inside the range at which that gimmick procs. The Vampire 2 goes down easily. That's our first kill of the game. We lost pretty much all our HP in this endeavor, but that's all right. We've still got 6,000 of it left, and we're going to be able to secure the Charlie cap for free. That is going to give us 2 uncontested caps between Bravo and Charlie. The enemy team doesn't really have any hope of entering them and stopping our accrual of points. And we're ahead of the enemy team by a few points. That lead is going to continue to grow, because as long as they hold no caps, they have no points income unless they sink some of our ships. Now we're the only destroyer left in the whole match, and that gives the blue team a distinct advantage. The question is, what do we do now that we've secured the win conditions? We're just kind of sitting here because we see this Preußen pushing out. He's going to drive right into Yamato, who is on fire, not thanks to us, but we're going to see if we can't fix that now. Shoot over the island here, don't get spotted, maybe light a fire on the Yamato, just farm a little bit of free damage. We've really got nothing better to do. And if this guy gets taken out, then the enemy presence is completely eliminated from every part of the map except just south of the Charlie cap. Except for this Yamato, the rest of the enemy team is over there. And when you've got all your ships in one basket like that, they become a little bit less effective, because if we can take out this Yamato, Preußen can push through here, our other battleship can push through the Bravo cap, and theoretically, we could envelop the rest of the enemy team in crossfires if they weren't taking out our ships. You can see this battle could still go either way. We've lost 4, the enemy has lost 4, but Yamato looks like he's well on his way back to port, thanks in part to some of the damage we did to him, and we end up getting the kill. 45,000 damage done. Not exactly a tremendous amount, but effective damage, because the majority of it came from the 2 destroyers, and those destroyers are no longer around to affect the outcome of the game. So now that Yamato is eliminated, we can head on back over to the Charlie cap and try to provide vision for our remaining teammates. They were probably a bit annoyed that they have no vision, but it is what it is. We had to do some other things in order to facilitate a good outcome to this battle. And again, I want you to take note, I want to emphasize this as much as I can. That number in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, 45,000, it might not look impressive, but you'll see what it does for us in terms of XP at the end of the battle. And we're still going to get some damage as we go on. Alaska out there is almost certainly our biggest threat. We've got this blue battleship pushing in, about to give himself up and make the kill count even once more. There's Johann de Witt. We can probably sneak a couple shots at him over the island here without getting spotted. Nobody's got line of sight on us, but we'll also shoot at the Alaska just because he's got the radar and he's going to be the biggest threat. There goes Johann de Witt. It's a 3v3. Whoever took out the Johann de Witt also went down in that endeavor. So it's a 3v3. Alaska's still alive. We want to stay far away from him. Not a lot of HP left. If we do get spotted, it's probably a salvo or two, a well-placed salvo from a battleship or the Alaska itself. That will be all that's necessary to take us out. Alaska doesn't look like he's inclined to push forward. We shoot at him and get spotted momentarily. Hopefully that's incentive to get him to go forward, because there is this blue Yamato right there. And I think if Alaska comes out from behind that rock, he's probably got a one-way ticket back to port from the blue Yamato's guns. Let's see if that works. Doesn't actually look like he's pushing out. No matter though, the blue Yamato is in Charlie, nothing to contest it, and so we might even be able to flip the cap. And actually, it is working. The Alaska is pushing out. We'll continue to fire at him from the safety of not being spotted. Switch to the AP too, just in case. Well, nope, Yamato takes him out. It did work. It was just delayed. Anyway, that just leaves two battleships left, one of which is inside of the Charlie cap again. He's just sitting here by the island, contesting the cap from the Yamato. We'll go around the corner here, try to get vision of him. And if he is going to push in like this, well, maybe we can torpedo him. Somehow we lost one of our torpedo tubes permanently. Wargaming, if you're watching this, maybe in the next patch, consider making permanently damaged modules not a thing. There goes Yamato, and all that's left is that Yamato way out there in the distance. So we win the battle. It wasn't a glorious victory in the sense that we did a ton of damage and sunk a lot of ships. We sunk two of them. One of them was a bit of a yoink. And all the damage that we did, the majority of it, was against destroyers. But we effectively sunk both of the enemy destroyers, even though we didn't get a kill on one of them. We just got the assist. And we solo capped two caps, as well as did an assist on one of them. And this is the kind of thing you want to see if you're a destroyer player. You don't necessarily want to go for a 6-digit number in the right-hand corner of the screen. That's not really your primary goal. Your primary goal is to take the objectives, to spot the enemy ships, and especially to counter the enemy destroyers. And you need good main battery firepower to do that. If you're looking for it, Kleber has it in spades, especially with Chuck at the helm, so he can decrease the reload time and increase the duration of the main battery reload booster. Kleber, I think, is one of the scariest destroyers to fight 1v1 in the whole game. There's not too much that can go toe-to-toe with it, except maybe Khabarovsk, just because Khabarovsk has some nice armor plating that I think can shatter some of the Kleber HE. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this look at the Kleber and some decent, I think, destroyer tactics. Give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.